It came up with the song, and it said, Wicked Games.
Yes.
And so, I'm old, Paul.
So am I.
I was like, this doesn't sound like Chris Isaac at all. So I was like, I guess maybe where's that falsetto part? Okay. No, it's not Wicked Game. It's Wicked Games with an S by The Weeknd. Completely different song. I did not get that. Hey, Internet. It's Paul. It's Matt. The Dork Lords. We are here talking about Westworld, Season 3, Episode 4, Mother of Exiles. And our episode begins and ends with William, our man in black. The more Ed Harris, the better, as far as I'm concerned. We open on William in the mansion where his wife committed suicide. He's having hallucinatory flashbacks because he murdered his daughter. We end the episode with William now in a mental institution, and he's having a conversation with a hallucinatory Dolores wearing the blue dress from episode 1. Season 1.
We assume it's hallucinatory, although it seems quite likely that
that's true. We can talk about whether or not it's hallucinatory.
Let me break that dress out.
Yeah, right.
Just to fuck with
it. Yeah. She's definitely up for doing that. We'll talk about she's just like, revenge. Like, woo! Yikes. She's a vengeful robot. Well, before we get into specifics, Paul, just generally, your thoughts generally on the episode.
Now, how the show ends becomes more important to me because
4 episodes to go.
What's that?
4 episodes to go.
Yeah, because I was not crazy about the revelation that Dolores is just populating herself with all these other people. I mean, I can think of a way where that will be okay, but they haven't done it yet, so I don't know.
I got you. I wasn't crazy about it either.
I thought all the conversations with William and his imaginary friends were stilted and obvious, so I didn't enjoy those.
The William talking to his daughter, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's all very, this is what happened, and this is what you thought it was. Like, oh my God, is there any subtext? I mean, he's crazy, but he's not like Exposition City, man.
I got you. I mean, you thought it was a little too much like, hey, you might have forgotten what, so we're going to clue you in through these hallucinatory flashbacks.
I mean, it's like, oh, yeah, this is how you felt, and you thought this, didn't you? It's like, oh,
I got you. I hear you. That said, Ed Harris does such a great job acting-wise that
his acting is good.
But you're saying,
wasn't crazy about that, and also, oh God, I had a lot of problems.
All right. I don't think I had as many problems as you did, but go ahead, sir.
God, well, and all the Maeve stuff where it's like, I will send you to this place, you can just trust me that I'll send you to this.
Oh, yeah, the reward.
All that stuff of, you're gonna, it was clever when she was like, I should just kill you, and okay, I'll stop you from doing that, and then you can think about it. The fact that, whatever he offered her did not seem like it should be convincing to me at all.
I have a theory on what that represents. We'll get to that. But I know what you're saying. That does seem like a weak thread to me, partially for 2 reasons. One, as you say, how do you know that he'd even make good on his promise? It's Serac saying, hey, if you help me out and destroy Dolores, I'll put you in the Sublime with your daughter, essentially is what he's saying. Would he do it?
This is an example of how much they have to do in between now and the end of the series.
Because I also feel like that's not necessarily a great reward at this point for Maeve. Because Maeve knows that her daughter isn't real.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a construct to give her a cornerstone for her character. It's not a real thing. So you're offering her this wonderful gift that's not really real. And then she'll never grow up, probably. And you'll just have this daughter forever that's not really your daughter. That sounds almost like hell as opposed to heaven. But anyway... so I'm not sure that the reward is that great.
It doesn't integrate anything else she's experienced since then.
Yeah.
So, it's still a thing about, yes, you wanted to get back with her. I mean, because her first motivation, I guess her first motivation was, trying to figure out everything, right? And she had this memory, and, as she learned about the world around her and she found her daughter, and then she discovered how empty all that was, since, they just replaced her in the program, and she doesn't have any, the actual daughter doesn't have any sort of sentience beyond what's going on or whatever. So it made sense for her to leave, but then ultimately decide, okay, no, this is still too powerful for me to deny. But it doesn't, but everything else she experiences, they haven't done anything at all to make it compelling for her.
I feel like she's outgrown this idea of this attachment for this fake relationship. Sure, at one point her character's consciousness, she was all in, but she's gotten so self-aware at this point that it's like, I know this isn't real. Yeah. Like, why would I then go, yay, for the rest of time I'll commit to this? Not anyway. All right, but
and then Bernard, it's like, okay, initially he's been fooled by Dolores, to sort of lay low and not get involved with anything, but then he figures out how to get around that, and no, she screws him up again. So,
okay, I got you.
I had many problems.
Okay, all right. So that's totally
I
legit.
didn't enjoy the episode because I liked seeing all the actors and everything. Certainly the fights were fun.
Yep. Here's a little. Before we get into it too far, I read this article that explains a lot. Actually, maybe people watching this already know this, and maybe you know it already, Paul. But I saw our Hemsworth brother, Stubbs. He's been shot in the arm, and then, of course, in this episode, they did this whole thing like, hey, and after we had to swim 5 miles to get off the island, my arm is shot now. That's what he says, right? And now, here's the deal. 2 days before they were going to shoot the fight scene he has back in...
He hurt himself?
Yeah, he broke his arm badly trying to put a TV up on a wall.
That dumbass.
So his arm, useless. So now they've had all this stuff with him with the bad arm and the fight scenes with one arm. I thought the first scene, remember he fights him off with an axe, the security guards, and it looked a little awkward, I have to admit. At the time, I was like, it seemed like... How is that even workable? Well, they did it on the fly, apparently. They were like, oh, crap. All right, here's the deal. Your arm's useless. We'll find a way to do that. So, so that's been this whole through line. That's why, think about it. When he fights Dolores in this episode, he's like, oh, I got one arm, but okay. I mean, like, they built it into literally everything. So, anyway, interesting how, life,
that is very
life takes this path and you pushes your character. So I have a theory on Maeve. Just stick a pin in that. We'll get back to that toward the end here. But for starters, the title, Mother of Exiles. You know how I am about digging into titles. So
I know how you are.
Thematically, very similar to last week. Last week, Absence of Field was a line from a poem, and that poem dealt with Charlotte, in my opinion. Well, here we have Mother of Exiles, a line from a poem that I think is very fitting for Dolores.
Okay.
So it's from the New Colossus. It's the poem that's on the Statue of Liberty, written by Emma Lazarus. We know the line, give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. It's that poem. But what I think is the very interesting part that includes...
The part that said that so that we can kill all the humans. I missed that.
Yes, there's a and robots will kill us all. Yay for that. We welcome that day, our robot overlords. No, the first paragraph includes the line Mother of Exiles, and I think it's got something that's pretty relevant to Dolores. So I'm just going to read that first paragraph because I wasn't that familiar with it, and now I share it with you. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
New Colossus, first paragraph. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. Okay, so, woman with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning. The imprisoned lightning is a reference mythologically. Of course, they're talking about the new Colossus before that. That's Prometheus. Prometheus took the lightning, a spark of it, created fire, and though the gods didn't want him to, he gave the secret of fire, a la knowledge, to humans, set them free from the gods, and then was punished for eternity for it. So I think you could see the connection to Dolores would be, I want to disconnect humans from Rehoboam, that's controlling their lives. I'm going to give them that freedom. But then if her future is similar to Prometheus, it's chained to a rock and have vultures pull your liver out. I don't think I'm madding her. I'm just thinking she could, in this world, you can get punished in a lot of ways and still stay alive. So she could find this like some kind of repetitive torture going on or something. I don't know. But in any case, it's interesting that I think it's Statue of Liberty, is a woman with a torch, obviously a connection to Dolores. But I think further than that, I think because the line Mother of Exiles is in the line about Prometheus, I think that is maybe the connection this show is making, that she is trying to be this, I'm bringing, knowledge and competence and self-awareness back to humanity, for better or worse. And so there's, that brings up a point though to me is, who is the hero and who's the villain in this story? We talked a little bit about this last week. It's still a little confusing. The way that this episode came out was like the end of an act 2 of a movie when the villain is on the high point and the hero's at the low point.
You don't feel like we're supposed to be on Bernard and Maeve's side?
Because they're on the side of Serac, and I'm not convinced Serac is a hero.
Wait, why is Bernard on the side of Serac?
Bernard's not, but Maeve is. In other words, Serac is against Dolores, and it seems to me Serac against Dolores, and so people are taking sides. So you have the Dolores team and the Serac team.
We haven't yet seen exactly what Serac's plan is.
Right, but he, the way he casually kills the identity broker guy. I mean, we're getting the idea that he's not a knight in shining armor. He has an interesting backstory. We'll talk about that. Right. But I don't know that where he's necessarily like, and that's the guy we should be all in favor of.
No, of course not. But why isn't it not Maeve and Bernard? That's all.
Okay.
Just because this Serac is telling Maeve what to do doesn't mean she's not the hero.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. She's, I got you. I guess I was thinking of the sides. Like, which side is the good side? And you're saying there's
neither of them.
Right, neither. But there's
Dolores,
good people.
Nor Serac.
People we can root for.
Rooting for Maeve and Bernard to stop the crazy.
I like the way that you phrased that. That's
what
good.
I'm talking about.
Okay, got you. Rooting for Maeve and Bernard, but they're not necessarily right now. They're on team Serac kind of, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But okay.
Right. I mean, it's possible that I could be wrong. And I'll be disappointed if they don't come up with a way to have synthetics exist in this world in a way that they aren't currently.
And what are you suggesting?
That they find some Israel for synthetics.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's actually very interesting. We're just skipping around here, I guess. But Serac, when he's like, hey, look. Trying to do good. Maeve, I need your help. We got to take out Dolores, or not take her out, but she has the key. She's got the key not only to all the projects from Delos that I want to get about human brain mapping, but also she's got the key to the Sublime, and so that's what we need. But as a reward, there's no place for you in this world. But I can throw you in the Sublime with your daughters. It's funny how he doesn't even pretend. He's not. You would think he could be like, "Oh, and after you help us out, I'm sure we'll help." He's like, "No, you.
Yeah, no.
You will not have a place in this world. But I can throw you into a cool place that you'll enjoy." I'm like, "Oh, all right." It
is only 4 episodes, I guess. In a way, it's like the type of. I guess it's still possible though. The type of revolution that it seems like would be required to put things in a better place than they are now for synthetics almost comes up more like Mr. Robot,
Ah.
where there's major upheaval or a virus.
I was thinking a virus, great, but yeah, like Planet of the Apes or something. Where they go. But
Like we are,
like we're in now. I'm talking about plot-wise. The idea of
or counterpart.
Or a counterpart. The idea of Dolores being kind of like a Prometheus type figure that, for whatever her own agenda, but trying to liberate humanity from the control of Rehoboam, kind of reminds me a little bit. And maybe this is a bad analogy.
That's what she's trying to do.
I think she's trying to disconnect humanity from Rehoboam for whatever reason. I don't know why necessarily, but I think that's her idea. Because remember when she's talking to Caleb in a last episode, she's like, "Hey, here's your life. Rehoboam determined this life for you, and as long as Rehoboam's around, all people just are going to be in this loop essentially. You're not free. So I'm going to lead a revolution. We're going to take down Rehoboam." Now maybe that's just what she's telling
she's
Caleb.
She's not doing it though to free humanity.
Yeah. So what is her?
She's doing it because
that she'll become the new leader.
Then
she'll be the new leader, maybe.
Well, she's doing it because obviously, Serac is trying to kill her because he can't control her. So it's all part of the system that put her where she was initially. So I think she just wants to destroy that system.
I got you. So she's just saying what she needs to say.
She might decide that if she was in charge, then she might be trying to supplant him. I guess that's possible.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of where I was going, but I see what you're saying. Maybe it's just I'll say what I need to get my army together, but ultimately I just want to take out Serac before he takes me out. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess it's possible that she might just be like, the only problem with this is that I wasn't in charge.
Yeah.
Or that we were.
Right. She is very arrogant. I'll say that. So I think she does have a sense of like, I can do this right.
So you fine with that aspect of it? In fact, Dolores is all.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It's not like, oh.
No, it's not terrible.
I just, they made such a big. What fooled me was the notion of the pearls. She took them out of the park, and you're like, okay, so that's personalities. And then the show's like, yeah, but she just replaced them with her own. So that was kind of tough to foresee, although people did foresee it. In fact, we had a commenter.
You said I told you so?
No, this is like before this episode aired. They made a prediction. Their prediction, I think it's AU Pack Mule. I'm sorry if I'm saying the wrong one. But I think AU Pack Mule said, hey, I think that Charlotte is a young Dolores, is what he said. And so, or she said, I don't know, AU Pack Mule, whoever that is. But so it wasn't a complete prediction, but predicted that Charlotte was in fact a Dolores personality.
Explain the amount of confusion that she was experiencing.
Right. Now that is also interesting. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Even though I think it's just an example of the type of confusion that they tend to feel once they're sort of not following their own path. And so, she's fairly new, maybe young, who knows, I guess, if she has all those memories or not.
This is,
it'd be interesting. I should rewatch those scenes now with the knowledge that is her, because
that's very interesting. Some of these scenes now take on much different light. For instance, last episode, when Charlotte is talking to Serac, and he's saying, I need you to kill Dolores. He's talking he's telling Dolores, go kill Dolores. So, Dolores is like, thank you for informing me. Also, that also then makes sense of, if he hadn't been using the glasses to like talk to her, she probably would have killed him right there. It would have been the end of the show. It would have been, oh, okay, great, you're here. But so that's Dolores.
Probably she shouldn't be fooled by things like that.
Right. So Dolores obviously is made perfectly aware in that moment that Serac is the one trying to kill her. Also, the scene in this one where Charlotte is shaving William, that's Dolores who, if she wanted to kill William, she could just cut his throat right there, but she doesn't. She wants to torture him emotionally instead. There's that scene. Oh, there's another one that I was like, oh yeah, with Dolores in that role. You know, when Dolores is controlling Charlotte in episode 3, you know, when she's like, remove your emotions, blah, 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 blah. And like, like she's doing that to herself. That's a little kind of weird too, right? Like, But the notion that there's also seems to be a hierarchy among Doloreses. That's an interesting thing here. It's not like I put my personality in all these different bodies and now we're all the same. Like the Dolores in Dolores's body seems to be the leader.
That's possible.
And then everyone else seems to be following. I would say.
I suspect, though, that that's. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's the case. I'm wondering if that's just a. You know.
I think it's certainly the case with
We're
Charlotte.
keeping it from you, audience. You don't know who everybody is.
There's one.
Now that we see that there's who everybody is, that it might now mean nothing. That one is looks like Dolores.
Yeah.
And has been presumably Dolores for the longest.
I'm just wondering if maybe what we're seeing there is like she replicated herself in order to. She said, "Well, if you want something done right, you do it yourself." But I'm just wondering if maybe because there's a hierarchy, and these these Doloreses are left to their own designs. Will there be maybe some of these Doloreses are going to be like, "I want to be in charge. I'm the good Dolores." I don't know. I can imagine.
I'd be surprised if that were the case because that. I mean, I would think that would be hard to sort of make good.
So you're saying, in the interest of good TV, I would rather them not do that. Okay, I'm just saying it may not be all harmonious in this. We're all Doloreses. You know, we already saw the thing of Charlotte cutting herself.
I guess.
But
anyway.
But
you know, at that point, I mean, I feel like anybody trying to jockey for power before the plan comes about is stupid.
All right.
And Dolores is not an idiot.
Yeah. No, she's not an idiot.
The plan, you would jockey for power after you don't have to worry about anything else.
Okay. All right.
You know, so you wouldn't do it before you've achieved your goal. So, you know, I feel like what they're trying to, I mean, the way that I can see it working, where it's like everybody's Dolores, is her really feeling alienated. Like, because right now, Maeve, they haven't really established a strong motivation for her to foil Dolores.
Nope.
So, if she were to see, like, wow, with you in all these other people's bodies and everything, you're kind of crazy, you know, and it becomes clear for Bernard and Hemsworth guy
Stubbs
that we have to stop her. Then that's okay. I understand that. I mean, that, you know, she should be. I mean, if they want to ultimately make a point about her as a sort of dictatorial figure, about how alienating and you know, not only from your goals and what should be humanity, and separating you from the people that you're trying to save. Okay, you know, it's, you know, we'll see.
I got you.
But, you know, that's, to me, the story you tell with that kind of thing. So, rather than, you know, oh, I want to be in charge. Oh, I want to be in charge. But you're me, but I'm you. What?
Or maybe the idea of, like, we saw Charlotte. She has now this kid. She felt strong enough about the kid that she killed the pedophile guy. Maybe because she has this different life experience now, that starts to shape her vision of how she would act. I don't know.
Maybe, I mean, here's another, you know, I mean, if that's the story for her, that would mirror the story in Counterpart again, right?
Right.
So,
You're actually, good point. Great point. Yeah, in Counterpart, you've got people with their doubles. And so the only difference in their doubles is that there was a plague, essentially, that one side went, their history evolved from a plague, and the other side just kind of went straight. And so the only difference between these people is life experience. And so we see that played out in the course of the show. So yeah,
right, but
same
I
idea.
think that they were telling a different story with. I've been trying for the last couple of minutes to remember the character who I'm talking about. For her, she decided not to, or at least it affected her plan to kill a whole bunch of people. The fact that she had a child, right?
Yep.
So that was her motivation to change what she was doing. It doesn't feel like Dolores has that connection with that child. I mean, I think she, you know, I mean, she might see herself as a mother, right, of like the way the title of the show talks about her being a mother in that way, like I'm the mother of our people.
Yep.
But I don't think she's feeling like, okay, this is my child feeling.
I got you. Well,
it would be a surprise. And, like I say, it's possible, I guess, that they're doing that. I think that'd be more difficult. I mean, one of the reasons why I think maybe they decided to make Dolores every one of those characters that it makes the story simpler to execute, so provided they put enough resonance into the other stories, and you don't have to worry about all these other characters because they're all Dolores.
I hear you.
So
I hear you. Now, but to continue on the theme of seeing these, Dolores in a position of power, kind of abusing those under her. Similar, I mean, we talked about this again last week, but again, we saw it this week really clearly. Bernard really, I mean, they're playing it off like we're partners, you and me and Stubbs, but he is definitely just controlling the hell out of Stubbs. I mean, that scene, for instance, where he turns him off. He's like, "Hey, is that thing going to work?" And he goes,
yes.
And he's like, and then when he turns him back on, Stubbs is like, "F you, Bernard." So that means, is he aware in that moment? Like, in other words, so in other words, he's just like, I don't know, paralyzed. Like, you paralyzed me, but I'm still aware of my surroundings.
Yeah,
like, yeeks.
I think so.
Yikes. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. It's just.
I mean, one thing they established with Stubbs is that he was not like the rest. He said he was.
I got you.
He doesn't have some back.
You think there literally is a hierarchy
with just being a machine? But I think a better story for him is, if they could find a way to establish that he's going beyond that. But I think they would have to deliberately change his coding for him to actually decide to do that.
And I don't think he's dead, right? We saw him fly over a railing.
I just don't think... What?
He's not dead. I mean, you saw him fly over a railing and disappear, but I assume that fall would not have killed him. He's still in the show.
Yeah, I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying...
So I think they would have to adjust his programming, which I imagined that was... something that Bernard might decide to do just to...
Okay. It just feels it just felt a little weird to me that Bernard is, you will defend me at your cost of your life if necessary. And, and even in that moment, this is episodes ago where, Stubbs says, you could have just asked. But, like, there's a weird sense of robots doing unto others as was done unto them. It's just kind of interesting. I think there's a theme playing out a little bit there.
Yeah, that's a way to look at it. I mean, I was sort of looking at more like, understanding a character, or at least this individual's limitations and using them anyway. I mean,
even when he's fighting Dolores,
it's a subtle thing of like, boy, wouldn't it have been great if you actually did have some independence? It's like the whole thing could be just sort of like a subtle sort of like, look what terrible things happen when someone controls you.
Because that
you don't seem to care, but maybe you should care.
That fight scene with Dolores, I mean, he says it before the fight, like, look, Bernard programmed me to defend him, so I got to fight you. And it's like he's saying, like, I have no choice. I have to fight you right now with one arm. Anyway.
Right. I mean, I guess it's possible they'll develop that more. I mean,
just saying.
I felt like you had also chosen as an example Dolores in Charlotte.
Yeah. Yep.
As a hierarchy, and I mean, maybe,
which now it's like Dolores and Dolores.
I think more. Well, I shouldn't say more. I mean, it's hard for me not to see it in the sort of like, oh, how can we keep this a secret from the audience? So they won't know until it's later that it's really Dolores. He.
Right.
So it's hard for me not to see it in that light. But if they actually want to make a point of the fact that you can't really truly put one mind into all these different hosts and have them behave as if they're one mind, okay. I don't think the way to, or at least the reason why they would fight would be less like, I want to be in charge, or you're treating me bad.
Okay.
It would be more like, okay, I want to act on my own motivations then.
I got you. Oh, anyway, I was going to say that the show that the storyline, perhaps, if Dolores is indeed trying to unplug humanity from Rehoboam, sounds like WALL-E Basically, where like humanity's on this ship controlled by robots, and like they're so controlled that basically the robots control them. Anyway, but anyway, there you go. Wall-E tie-in. Okay, so
yeah, I can see Dolores putting on like 300 pounds, and, being in a big chair. I can see that.
Good, perfect. So we've got the scenario where we now know it's Dolores as Connell's, Liam's security guard, bodyguard. She convinces Liam to hand over his personal account information to her.
Right.
And that scene I thought was really interesting because it gave Dolores a chance to say what she really thought about Liam. Just in case you ever were like, oh, maybe she actually liked Liam, and she, like he was a nice guy, and she was just hanging out with him. And no. She's like,
no.
You're a terrible brat. You're privileged. You just grew up lucky.
Right.
Just go back to growing up lucky. I'll handle stuff in the background.
Right.
And so yeah, she gets the account information. She and Caleb then use that information to take all of Liam's money. That scene kind of went down a little weird. The heist scene, I guess you want to call it. First, they go find the exec that has access to the account, and they take his blood and I guess kill him. Right? If he wakes up, he's going to be like, "Oh my God! Somebody took my blood and knocked me out." So she must have killed him.
Unless she was able to just paralyze them for as long as they need until they get the money.
She had 20 minutes, I guess. They're like, "Oh, the thing's going to run out in 20 minutes." So,
yeah.
But okay, so maybe she incapacitated him for a half hour.
So if he was like out for like an hour, then
okay, all right, fair enough. So
I mean, maybe he's dead.
They go to the bank, and I get it that obviously the bank is very dependent on this DNA match thing.
Yeah.
But they pull up twice. They test the DNA and they pull up a screen, and I'm just like, wouldn't you have like a profile picture? I don't know. Caleb looks nothing like this guy, and so it's just like he fools the bank with literally no disguise at all. It's just like da-da-da-da-da. It works. It's not like a plot error, but it's just kind of. I was thinking to myself, boy, somebody's gonna have a picture of this guy, right? Right? No. Okay, fine.
Security's bad even in the future.
That's right. And she does say like, oh, rich people are easy to steal from because they never assume their money will go away. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But they get the money. And then they still want to kidnap Liam. So what is the motivation here? They want to take the money so they have cash to fund their projects at Delos, I assume, or something like that. Yeah. But so why do they need Liam?
It's not like the old ATM thing where it's like, we can only take out $300.
Yeah, right. So they need Liam maybe to access a particular, maybe Rehoboam itself or something. Like maybe, I don't know why they're kidnapping him. That's all.
Yeah.
But because they already have his money. At this point, they're like, we got the cash, but they still need him for something.
Right.
So there's this convergence at this like Eyes Wide Shut gala type thing.
Right.
And which is where we actually get people meeting. So we get to see that some of these timelines are happening at the same time. Bernard and Stubbs show up at the same time as Caleb and Dolores. And Liam is there as well. So one thing I noticed, so the music is playing there is this orchestral version. First, earlier we have an instrumental version of Bjork's Hunter that's playing over Serac and Maeve. It's a great song. The original song by Bjork is awesome. Kind of a sensuous song, but there's a predatory nature to it. I looked it up. She's actually just talking about the process of songwriting, but whatever. Anyway, but that song's really cool, and this version is very cool too. There was this cover done. It actually used it on the trailer for Terminator Dark Fate, and it's just terrible. It's just a terrible cover of this song, and it just made me think, like, I can imagine the execs for whatever, the Terminator movie going, okay, oh, you know that Bjork song? That would be great for this trailer. We can't really afford to buy the song. well, I know this half-assed guy who could do a crappy version of it, and he'll be really cheap. Great. Oh, wow, that's not the same song at all. Anyway, but this version, very good, and it's nice ambient music, and it's cool. But I also like the fact that this has been a thing in Westworld, from season 1, the idea of instrumentals of pop music. But what's cool about that is not only is it fun ambient music and you can sometimes recognize the tune, but it's also without using words, it's giving you this information because you start interpreting the lyrics like, oh yeah, the lyrics make sense here. But in the case of, I was watching it with subtitles, so when the Eyes Wide Shut party came on, it came up with the song and it said, Wicked Games.
Yes.
And so I'm old, Paul.
So am I.
I was like, this doesn't sound like Chris Isaac at all. So I was like, I guess maybe where's that falsetto part? Okay. No, it's not Wicked Game. It's Wicked Games with an S by The Weeknd. Completely different song. I did not get that. So I was totally reading in like, okay, if it's Wicked Game, see now he's upset because this woman pretended to be something she wasn't, and then she was cheated on him and blah 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 blah. But no, it's not that at all. It's Wicked Games, The Weeknd. That one is also on point because the subject matter of that song is basically a guy who's got a wife at home, but he goes off with prostitutes, and he's addicted to drugs, and he has a secret, this other life, and he wants to fall in love. No, but so, it's not Wicked Game. It's Wicked Games with an S. Okay, so at this party, Liam figures out, oops, I don't have any money. I can't buy this prostitute. Dolores is going to move in to take him, but Bernard and Stubbs get there first. Bernard thinks that Liam might be a robot, realizes he's not. Oh, he doesn't respond to my clicky click. And so they try to ferret him out of the building. They get out of the building. Connells comes out. There's this confrontation with Bernard. And, there's that, don't you recognize me? It's a similar thing with Charlotte's talking to William. Don't you recognize your oldest friend? You're like, no! I mean, I get it's a thing you might say in that situation, but Paul, if you were somehow in the body of my cat, who's right next to me right now, other than the fact that my cat would suddenly be talking English, I'd be like, oh, my talking cat. I wouldn't recognize you in the cat. If you suddenly, as my cat, were like, don't you recognize me? I'd be like, what? You're what? No, who are you? Another clue. Is this charades? Give me some hints.
You can tell by the way I cock my head.
Yeah. Oh, right, Paul! It's Paul! Paul's my cat. Anyway, it's just of course they don't know who you are. Especially with Bernard. I mean, he literally just met Connells in that moment. It's like, no, I can see it behind your eyes. Yeah, you must be Dolores. No, he's not going to know. Yeah, anyway, so but it's just one of those things. It's like, ha-ha, I'm the villain and I got one up on you. But so that's that big reveal there. We end with Liam has been captured by Caleb. We are introduced at this party to a drug called genre, is what they call it.
Oh, yeah.
And they say it'll take you to the Silent Age and back. I don't know what the Silent Age is. Maybe the Silent Age is before they had these implants that they could put the drugs in. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. I thought they meant the silent era.
Like the silent era of TV or something. It'll take you back to the 20s. Movies. Yeah. Before the talkies. Silent TV. You remember that? Yes, Mime TV. It was a big deal. So genre, I think, is important because I think that's also how they being Dolores and the various Doloreses, are manipulating William into thinking he might be a robot. I'll talk about that. But anyway, we also see in the trailer for episode 5.
Wait, there was a whole other aspect of the show.
Yeah.
With Maeve.
I'm just saying, I'm just following up on the genre thing.
Okay.
That we see Liam, because Liam has a vial of it that he's given in this episode. We see in the trailer for the next episode, he injects that genre into Caleb. Probably as a way to get away from him. He's probably like, I'll inject him, and then while he's out, maybe I can escape, is my guess. And so probably that means Caleb is going to go into some kind of flashback But my guess is we're going to see like a backstory for Caleb. Kind of like, this sounds like, why does this sound familiar? Watchmen. Remember, there's that drug that you take people's memories, and we had a whole episode where she went back and visited her dad. Anyway.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of questions about him and his friend and what they were doing and all that.
Yeah, so my guess is we might see some of that there in episode 5. Anyway, so there's that is happening. It looks like Dolores has the upper hand in that scenario because she's got Liam, she's got the cash. She beat Stubbs. He fell away out of sight. She's defeated Bernard, and then the other Dolores, which is there's 2 other Doloreses. We got the Dolores that is Charlotte, gets obviously one up on William. So what's great here is she could have just had him committed, right? At any moment, she could have just been like, "Come get him," but no, she has him dress up. Yep. He gets a shave. He's like, "The board can wait." So she totally makes him buy into the fact that she needs him. The board, they're going to make it go private. We can save the company if you can convince blah, 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 blah. She has no intention of him doing any of that, but she's just giving him time to prep. And then when he goes out, she's like, oh, yeah, they're actually here to take you to a mental institution. Like, whoa! She has reason to hate him, but she hates him to the point that she wants him to suffer terribly.
Yeah. Perhaps so too, though, to keep messing with his mind enough so he reveals how crazy he is to the people coming to take him away.
Sure. But he does. I mean, I assume that humanity already knows that he killed his daughter, and they probably that the reason was because he thought she was a robot. Anyway,
but a lot of crazy stuff happened on that.
Yeah, I hear you. But yeah, you're right. It was time to make him go and show that he was nuts. But I think those guys are just security guard guys anyway. I don't know that they had a lot of say in we witnessed him being crazy. I think that maybe, but that decision already been made is my guess.
The ability to document things with video now is much better than it was.
Yep. So that whole con plays out, and we get we'll just cover that to the end. So he ends up in this mental institution. The reason I think there's genre involved is at that last moment when she's given her little ha-ha victory speech as Charlotte, she pricks his neck with something. It makes him bleed. She's got a little spike on her finger. I think she injected him with some genre then. I think it's I think it's been happening. I think that's why he's having these really vivid hallucinations of his daughter, for instance. Okay. And so I think that genre is also what then leads to the last conversation with Dolores, where he's talking to her and she says, "What is it ask me the question you want to ask." He's like, "Am I me?" And she's like, "Welcome to the end of the game." You're like, oh, God. So she's won in that moment too. So again, this is that end of Act 2 where the villain is getting one over on everyone, and then she also wins as in the other body of Musashi, as we find out. It's Maeve is tracking the identity of, where Dolores and her other bodies are. She eventually ends up. She goes to oh look, this is the mortician, and then she finds that, and then it goes to the next person. We also see that Maeve is still able to control devices, electronics in this world. And these people with these auto-aiming guns that are oh, man.
Yeah.
Woo! You got to figure out that, this person, okay, throw it away. Throw the gun away. I'll use this stick. Anyway, so...
Where's an axe?
The big reveal is that it's Musashi at first, which was, she being Maeve would have known, obviously, very much so, because that was in the Shogun world. Yeah. The clue is where he's like, "You left us," or something like that. And he's like, "What? I gave you the choice." He's like, "Was it really a choice?" You're like, "Oh, yes, it was." Dolores. And so then Dolores, they get in a sword fight. Musashi stabs her. The thing that I thought was a little, this actually plays into my theory a little bit as to why this didn't happen at the moment, but. The thing I thought was a little was Maeve is dying, bleeding out.
Yes.
Musashi is standing over her, and it's gonna I think gonna take the pearl out of her head is what's happening. Gonna cut her head, and so we hear like shots in the background or something, and Musashi's minions come in. Oh, there's somebody outside. Just drops the sword. It's like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Really? Like this is the best chance you've got to take out an incredibly powerful foe. You were about to cut her into her head and take the pearl out. How long does that take? Seconds.
No, not
seconds.
Long, I don't think.
So why not just do that? I don't know. Like that was a weird. Like if you wanted that to be really like immediate stakes, have those men come in that moment. Why have it like they're outside? It'll take them minutes to get here. Let's leave now. Oh God, oh Jesus. I mean, just make the stakes more immediate. That's all. I felt like storytelling wise, that was a little like, okay. We assume that's Sirac's people that are coming in because they were probably tracking Maeve. But also, again, this is probably the time to bring this up. So here is a theory I have that maybe even partially explains that little oddity. We talked about last week that we thought one of these storylines is probably in the Rehoboam simulation. Right? So Rehoboam has created a simulation and is trying to, make these two worlds, predictive or whatever.
Predictive, yeah.
I think Maeve is in the simulation. I think she's still in a simulation. We saw her break out of a simulation, but no.
Did you kill the simulation of Dolores for me in the simulation?
Right, I get it. It's a little odd, like why is she there? So here's
also too, like he shouldn't have a simulation of Dolores.
He shouldn't have a simulation of Dolores
because he can't use her to predict anything.
Well, I mean, I see what you're saying because she's the divergence, but I'm just thinking Rehoboam has got a lot of info, has figured stuff out. I was just thinking that perhaps you've got a situation where Rehoboam is trying to figure out how to best use Maeve. Like if I approach Maeve, will she agree? Maeve is a divergence as well. So I don't know how Maeve's going to react. If I put her in a simulation, give her the choice. Will she attack? Will she help me defeat Dolores, or will she join sides with Dolores, for instance? And so I think this is an elaborate ruse to attempt to get Maeve, to see what Maeve will do. My thought is Maeve, being as who she is, either already knows or will realize that she's in another simulation, and then much like she defeated the World War II simulation, she will trick this one and ultimately basically make it come to the wrong conclusion. And I don't, that's kind of my thought is to where this is going. Just partially because Maeve did not show up with Bernard, and the others have met. Maeve hasn't yet. She just met with Musashi, who again could be a simulation version. Also, the fact that she's the one main character we've seen that is talking directly to Sirac without glasses. The others have to, I had glasses to talk to, be in this world, and Sirac has never been seen. My cat's about to walk in front of the camera. Hi, Kid, come on, Kid Lore. Oh, God! I mean, Paul. Oh, well done. Paul wants to get down. And
get funky.
Point being, the reason that perhaps Maeve is the one character that is seeing Sirac without the aid of anything else is because it is a simulated Sirac. She is in the simulation with him, and so they don't have to put on glasses to see him because she's already there. Anyway, I'm just saying I'm getting a sense that perhaps that we'll see if next episode Maeve is hanging out with Bernard and Dolores. I'm like, oh, never mind then.
I think that's the reason why I don't like that is because that's a really long con. What a waste of a couple of episodes to have her in this place that doesn't have any effect on the story, actually.
Although
to get her ready to behave in a way that you want her to behave.
It would pay off a little bit more, this idea that she saw the simulation of World War II and got out of it, and we see her do that with a tougher simulation. essentially she's like, she did it with the easy simulation. Now, can she break out of the Matrix, essentially?
Story-wise, though, she's not learning anything, okay? So, it's like more different, same beat, different implementation.
Yeah.
Ooh, to really fool you. Like, that's the only benefit I can see out of that. It's like, okay, we don't know how to get her to kill Dolores, so let's keep stalling her until.
And how do we keep this from being too Matrixy? I feel like if they just did a story of like, oh, this was a simulation the whole time to keep people at bay, like that, like we've seen that. So I assume if there's a simulation storyline here, that there's a twist on it. Okay. All right. Okay. You think it's not?
We haven't really seen that in there at all.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
We haven't seen this other world represented as a...
We'll know in 4 weeks whether who was stupid. It's probably me. So,
but I want to know now.
Now, damn it! All right, so we do know this. Another thing. So Dolores took out 5 pearls originally. So we think she put her personality into 5 folks. But we've only seen. I think we're missing 1 body, right? So in other words, we've got Dolores, and then the 5 others aside from Dolores. So you've got Bernard, you've got Charlotte, you've got Musashi, and you've got Connells, the bodyguard guy. So there's 1 other body that is probably inhabiting a Dolores that we're not sure about. But just throw that out there. Here's another thought. Maybe another plot line could be, I'm still a little at odds with...
It's The Rock?
You say that, maybe. I don't know. I hadn't thought of it till this moment. But I think Bernard... the idea that Dolores would bring Bernard back and be like, hey, I hope you beat me one day. Seems weird, right? Like, hey, I'm bringing you back. We're going to be at odds, but I need you to keep me in check. Okay, really? It still seems weird.
Suggest that...
I'm thinking that
Bernard
maybe...
is really... Dolores?
That Dolores is maybe in the background, like Wyatt, perhaps. Notice how we've had the thing where Bernard keeps checking himself, right? Oh, am I in charge? Am I still in charge? When was the last time I talked to Dolores? He's worried about something like that. I just wonder if maybe there'll be some moment, some big revelatory moment when it's like Bernard's in the moment, oh, I can win the day, and then he'll get shut down by Dolores, and then Dolores will come online inside Bernard.
I'm so glad that you're not writing this show. And I hope that the people writing this show do not like the ideas that you've been expressing.
All right, there you go. I'm just throwing it out there. Bernard, secret Dolores in the back of his brain, in the medulla oblongata, somewhere in there. All right. And then also Maeve's in a simulation. When those 2 things happen, I own the internet, and apparently it's a terrible story. So, okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, I might have a better opinion of that if it was really Stubbs all along. But
all right, fair enough.
That pretended that she was going to kill herself in Stubbs' body just so she could let what's his name get further away. But I mean, I don't think that's the case. But,
okay, all right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Sirach's backstory real fast here. This is something apparently that was alluded to in some of the the guerrilla marketing tactics that HBO had pre-show. They had a thing where they showed a divergence that was Paris being undergoing a nuclear explosion. So to people who had followed the HBO site and stuff like that, they kind of knew that there was something like that was going to come about at some point. It came about in this episode. Sirach's like, hey, when I was a little kid, I lived near Paris, and we see that it's some kind of nuclear explosions going off, and we assume it's Paris. And his point is, I can only tell you about Paris now. It doesn't exist, just like these different simulations and stuff. It's just it's a thing in my imagination, and we get the feeling that that's almost like a cornerstone moment for him, if you want to call it that, where he saw what humanity could do, or what these terrible things that could happen, and so he decided, I'm going to create this device that will predict and try to avoid these terrible things that. And in fact, we do see again in the trailer for next episode what looks like a younger version of Serac, maybe working on Rehoboam. I'm guessing. I don't know, but so that the explosion of Paris is obviously a transformative moment for our young Serac, and we'll just see how that plays out. But also the idea that this is a world where Paris doesn't exist. I mean, that's a thing. They little world building there. Why doesn't it exist? Was it an accident? Was it somebody attacking it? Was it a synth uprising? Probably not. That early on, that was when he's a kid, means like pre-Westworld probably. Anyway. Anyway, there's some interesting bits there. It also humanizes him, right? He's not just like I just want to dominate humanity with my giant ball. So he's got some kind of vested interest in theoretically an altruistic motive of sorts, but he is also he's a bad dude. And so, anyway, whatever purer motives might have started, it's not so great now. He also has a mole. He had a mole before Charlotte. Sounds like he had a mole back when William sold him some shares of some data.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's going to pay off or anything, but anyway, for a long time he's been taking info from Delos. It'd just be interesting if maybe would they bother to have a scene where he hangs out with Ford at all? It'd be interesting, but I don't know that they would do that. Serac and Ford like sharing, their insight. I also got the idea. I got a little bit of a Howard Hughes vibe coming off of William. I don't know. When he's hanging out in his mansion, shooting at stuff, and and he's like just unkempt, crazy, uber rich billionaire guy, basically. Anyway, other thoughts, sir?
Oh, I got mine out.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was episode 4. Thanks so much. We'll be back talking about episode 5, and we're plotting our strategy for how to try to catch up with Devs, another show about computers trying to predict the future for humanity. It's very similar to this show in that way, but we don't know where that show's going. But anyway, all right, cool. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much, Paul, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Hey.